This is a warning for anybody who's not aware. I won't tolerate any BS anymore. Right, NHS Digital Limited Company up in Leeds, United Kingdom. Right, if you have opted out of all your data shown, it's not just NHS, it's everything is interlinked. Right, research. 9th of the 1st, 2019. Okay, so-called Brexit, well, forget about that. NHS Digital Limited, CEO is Ian Hudson. No, correction, he is the medicine regulation and in connection with medicine health products regulatory agency. Right, so claim the date here, 29th of March 2019. Right, go back to the man again. Ian Hudson, CEO of MHRA, in short. Right, so-called secretary in United Kingdom for Department of Health and Social Care, national in UK. Contracts interlinked behind the scenes, been planned a long time ago. Right, uploading all your data to the cloud, AI. I've had suspicion why things were happening to me personally, but I did this opt-out. Well, there's no such thing as opt-out in their system now. This interlinks bigger to other public services, all public services, right? Well, in England, I don't know about Scotland and Wales. Okay, so-called Secretary for Health, Matt Hancock, I think it's pronounced as. And then you've got the CEO, Sarah Wilkinson, NHS Digital Limited. They're profiting off your personal data. If you've got sensitive data, you don't want your data uploaded to the cloud. Why do you think the chips are coming in? So they control everything. I didn't get nowhere with the police. I knew I wouldn't get nowhere with them because I've started investigating this because of certain individuals and seen a video and linked on to something else today. Right, so while I've been resting in my poorly leg. So if you're offered any prescriptions, right, there's a document I've seen, a scheme through, and I read, and this is my only opinion. You can check it out all yourself. If you have regular repeat prescriptions, be aware that there's scaremongering going on to stockpile all this stuff. Be aware of the changes. A whole list of them I have. There's side effects and check the manufacturer. If you ever get a list of any changes, like I have occasionally, check to see whether that's where the side effects come through. I finally found out who's meant to regulate. Let's go back to my piece of paper. You won't get this information out of so-called NHS England Limited unless you dig for it and find these key documents. All their PR, jargon, mainstream media won't tell you the facts. There's a very good website has put a short link out known as Disability Against Cuts, Disabled People Against Cuts, United Kingdom website. Check it out, just Google it or wherever, and you'll find there's journalists out there. Be careful when you speak to the media, in my opinion. But there's a link. Has anybody been advised about any changes or what's in place? What's been advised by your medical practices funded by public funds, NHS England Limited, head office and Leeds. And it's to do with contracts. So all these new contracts again coming in place. Right, we're going on to Capita PLC, international company worldwide. They have a area office in United Kingdom, head office in London. It's known as Capita Business Services Limited. They've got two contracts. How they're using your data, how they don't do things right for disabled people as well, even those that are working with this personal independence crap. They deliberately mess up with their individual employees to find people fit for work when they medically are not. Then it goes on links with so-called overriding your own medical doctor, consultants, whoever you may see in the industry, in the so-called public funded services at the moment. That's all changing. Okay, but go on to the next bit, why they have, because I've had suspicion for 6 months, more than that now, why they failed to respond to my access to my own medical data. Since the UK May 25th of May 2018, it's the new data protection regulation, statutory law come in play. And they're meant to uphold you're able to access your data, especially medical, on a CD format for free. It doesn't take 6 months to get back. You get deliberately target on the list when you wake up, by the way. Be aware how it works. Right. Now, this so-called, I'm going to link on not just to the NHS Digital. We've got NHS England. They're private corporations. Check it out, Company House. You'll find it all out. When I sussed out there is no contract, return to sender, do not recognise you, do not understand your intent, and it is not my will and is not my wish to contract. I do not have an international treaty with you, no assured value, no liability, return to sender. Anything in the place, well, this is why I deliberately don't send anything anymore, it's by email because it's all going, everything's digital. So you learn how to do these documents by email, a rejection without dishonour, or conditional acceptance or offer under duress if it is in that situation. That's by force, and look it up on Black's Law Dictionary, edition 4 for 5th, and you'll see the factual information. Now, the opt-out angle, right? All this was deliberately rejected, refused by this NHS England funded company. Sought clarification confirmation back in May 2018. I already opted out, but I found out by pure chance in, I think it was July last year, where my personal medical data, personal information should never have left that medical practice. And the presumption linked into, let's get to that, the piece of document. It's interlinked to the health and adult social care, the statutory documentation, the presumption that that data is going to be retained within that so-called public sector services, department, whatever, the data controller. That's a load of BS. Okay, reality is it's all going on the cloud. Okay, coming in now, 2019 now. Be aware what any data, medical, whatever you're dealing with public sector services. That's what I picked up dealing with the police recently. And right, so if you don't rebut something, rebuttal means the presumption was being made, your personal information, your character, whatever subject you're dealing with. I'd done that straight away when that public servant jumped on my character, presumption that I did not have something on my body when I know I did. I've got witnesses to this, and that I don't need to involve them because this is my private dwelling. Learn about your lawful rights, and not just about your data, but everything to do with your personal right to privacy. We do live in, at the moment, we're not in a dictatorship just yet, but the way things are happening in the digital age with AI, that's all where it's going. Claiming to use your smartphones, your apps, or whatever, they're trying to imply now you can have consultation online with public funded. How much they're being paid per year? Claim to be a GP, they could sit up at home and get 50, 60 grand a year. What, pushing a button and claim to do a video consultation for Skype or whatever technology apps they're going to use, right? The new contracts coming in 2019, claiming to be, oh, by the way, this is a public earth being used. Public funds are being used when people are starving, people haven't got any homes, the benefit system is crucifying vulnerable people out there. They don't care about vulnerable people. There's a data mining, the data sharing is all about, it's not about safeguarding. There's nothing about safeguarding a personal individual in their personal circumstances. There's nothing about safeguarding all these wonderful grand ideas. No, there's a hidden agenda behind it all. If you investigate the facts, I go on facts, not evidence, not like hearsay and BS be made up to the public, like icing on the cake, to skimming through information. You dig deep, you find the information. So my history in PR research is coming to forth helpful information because I had a gut feeling something didn't seem right. So I stumbled across an article about prescriptions, about Brexit, and that led me down to another angle. And it led on to generally every bit of data about your personal life is up for grabs. Well, I don't know how many private companies are going to come in to take over the handling of public sector services data. So what private personal information you might say, I've got nothing to hide, I don't mind. Well, you will do. When you have that chip in, Mark of the Beast they call it, you will have that chip in you, offered to you, and they can monitor every damn thing about your personal life. Smart technology is not your friend. You might think it's handy and convenient. I'm going back to analog. Absolutely. And you could say they can still trace you by that, but I don't care. I'm just going back this. Right, making sure your options and choices and about your confidentiality. So whether they're treating you as a commodity, yeah, your individual personal care, anything to do with so-called UK government. Well, governed by consent, by the way. Be aware how you just give your consent, whether it's verbally on the phone, whether it's by like offer or services, whatever it may be, yeah? So be aware how all this is turning out. No scaremongering, this is just facts. The confidentiality of your private life is meant to be that. And all this presumption being, and all your confidential data will not be identified. Well, when it goes to the cloud, how do you know it's not going to be hacked into with the AI computerized system? So anyway, it's all about learning alternatives. Go back to the old school way of doing things, pen and paper, you know, keeping journals or diaries, things offline. Okay, so I held this NHS Limited, well, NHS Digital Limited to account. And so I learned an independent blog about opting out. I can't find that right now because I have some paper with me. There's an automated documentation claiming about previously, we're going back to July last year. Well, it doesn't take all these months to get response by this medical company. By the way, the medical practice is a limited company. Check it out. I'm talking quick because there's a lot to cover. Check out the Dun & Bradstreet in United Kingdom, you know, dunandbradstreet.co.uk or whatever it might be nowadays. But check out, type in, say, whatever you might be researching to see, or any company website or information you might want to check, or any Lincoln business is like an app, and you might find information about that company and who works for them. Know who you're dealing with and what job role they have, just protecting your interests and your loved ones and family members, right? And what your options are, what you require in your daily life. So the data, I knew something was all about the tick box exercise. It is, I mean, when you're dealing with computers, there is no human contact. It's all computerized. And this is why there's a lot of people being found fit for work because their computer systems are not working. Capita PLC, reference to DWP, Department of Works and Pensions, Head Office, Clacton House, London, Limited Company, area offices throughout UK, Call Job Centre Pluses deliberately are there. It's all your data is going to be interlinked. Why do you think Universal Credit's coming? It's already here because it's all showing your data. There's medical data. So they want to like monitor every single thing. So if you have appliances in your home, smart appliances, smart meters, this, that, and anything to do with smart. Then you've got the so-called in community street lighting turning into little antennae apart on top of the poles. I've got the video evidence before that. and the so-called new lighting systems they have, and even in where I live in the car park area, and then also to do with the mobile phone tower satellites and also the technology using with the 5G. Think it's going to aid us? Well, think again. It's up to you to investigate. I'm not going to go into it all. So look at your keywords about your areas, towns and cities. For example, in England, if you have a Dorset box weekly delivery, home delivery, for example, learn how to sign under duress. Okay, if you need it for your health and disability, be prepared about alternatives. Get some books from the library or buy second-hand stores or whatever you can find of plants, herbs and oils and what might be able to help one's body ill, ailments and health, because that might just help, because so-called medicine management, well, just be aware of the side effects of that. I'm not disrespecting the effects of medicines, but the facts that I came across as information. There is all these so-called statutory regulations to follow, but don't forget by 2030 and 2024, it's all going to be before that, obviously, but the video consultations with the GP. Yeah? Well, hold on, why aren't they using email all this time? I mean, this is one simple example. Provide an email for them to contact me, my choice of contact, the reasonable adjustments for my disability. Constantly being providing that under duress, by the way. And instead of that, you don't get no response by letter and you don't even get a response by email. And yet they got those up-to-date computer systems. Right, the articles today on NHS England reference to the cloud, digital software. Okay, they'll be switching to 2 new digital software companies to change how medical practice are going to be using their systems, computer systems, and how they can interact with people you trying to offer or receive offer services. You're no longer going to have a human contact. That's no wonder no longer have home visits. I had suspicion for a while this was going on and something else was happening. So reaction is factual, reaction to the information is fact, is not just on assumption. Now, I'll give you one example. I made a note on this before and I just found it again. In partnership, there's a company up in Leeds called Phoenix Partnership, 129 Low Lane, and it's a software company. And it's Horsforth in Leeds area. They're the digital company a software company working to do the taxes. That came wrong, by the way, to me. This is going back. I found this out on the 18th of 8th, 2018. And I did not consent for them to use this company. Their website is www.tpp-uk.com. I found that out by pure chance. I'm extremely conscious and careful where my data goes, right? Because when my mate tried to source out a company's house information about who this company was and who the CEO was, well, they also was using a commercial protocol, and that was another bravosolutions.co.uk, another company. Then there's also a website, www.transformation. So one went on to company's house, www./beta companies, found it's a limited company with previous information. Right, so there's another USA. It's a link back to a USA company. And so you found out the protocol, commercial protocol company, and where they were based over in New Hampshire in USA, and who the CEO of that company was. There's another website found. There was a www.streamline-tpp.com, a login protocol. Found that information. Excuse my handwriting. I found all these links and I could not even believe. So, right, let me just get this up. Right, this is a website and phone number for the company. You think all this Brexit is just a back door, it's an excuse for you studying your, misuse of data, selling off your data, no matter who it is. Right. Let me just, they need your consent. So, if you learn how to refuse without dishonour, that's really useful to learn these words. And at the moment, I'm still waiting for a response all these weeks on from something else. Now, don't forget, GSMC is a corporation, national corporation for these men and women claimed to have trained in as a doctor, whatever field they're training in, general medicine, for example. They're also partners set up as these companies, as medical practices. They don't want you to know this information. You can find it all out yourself. If you look at also NHS England contract, limited contract, they're contracting, they're funding using public funds, all these medical companies. There's so many popping up, and privatisation with a backdoor to offer goods and services. What are they now? It's all digital. They're interlinked with everything. Okay, so you think you've got a problem, you want an advocate. So you got also national company in Cambridgeshire called Voiceability. Might be other ones in different parts of Wales and Scotland perhaps, but they are contract to offer a man or woman in an employee role as, say, NHS advocate when things go wrong. That advocate is employed and is not independent, but it's funded also by NHS England Limited to give the appearance that you have an independent voice, to assist the individual if there's in statutory law complaint, serious negligence, tort law, look up information about that. So whether you're dealing with an NHS funded trust, dealing with a general hospital, you're dealing with they call it primary care, you're dealing with commissioning groups, funding groups, it's all broken down to look so confusing, but bring it all back to the square one. It's all to do with the NHS digital, NHS England. Okay. 30th of the 7th, for example, 2018, I found this out. So Martin Silver, SERVER, and he's the Guardian medical director for NHS Digital, and he's the one that's responsible in his position as handling your personal data, NHS national data, yeah. NHS Digital Limited. So I found it out on the email, went off to reject the services without dishonour, and I got that rectified. You've got to take control of your own information. If you want to share just information to get goods and services, for example, if you end up in a hospital, the date here, for example, 19th of the 7th, 2018, that's a Thursday, no contract with any of these companies I just mentioned. And I started investigating to find out who on earth has been sharing my personal data. This is all about sharing all of your data, not just medical. Everything to link when you access interaction with any public sector services, public funded. So I've been dealing with the subject of adult healthcare 2014, the Statutory Act, all since, September 2017, all last year, getting nowhere. And when I saw this new data protection, 25th of May 2018 come in play, into force, right, what else was changing? This is also a housing subject. You interact with social housing, statutory funded, okay? It's all to do with data collection. Any offer of services, whatever subject, is all your data is interlinked now, and it's going on to the cloud if it's not already done that. So if you're not bothered, fine. But if you are, because of that chip, it's going to be linked to the cloud already with AI, much more than AI. The technology is more advanced and they're going to let the public know. So obviously I sought my data limited access, just enough to aid these certain individuals in their job role to assist me. Well, that didn't get nowhere, did it? Right. So, do you ever see results of your blood tests? Do you ever get copies of any tests you get done within, say, you referred? I thought, what on earth was all these referrals online about? I never consented for that process to happen. The old system, I remember what it used to be, used to have in-house services in the medical practices. Not anymore. So therefore, well, it depends on what you're accessing actually. So are you actually being targeted and bombarded with so much information or lack of for your situation? So for me, it's my joint, quite a few trying to require access goods services to meet my needs, but no, it's all tied in with the next subject, adult safeguarding. This disability access card, they're promoting it right nationally. In my area, they so-called the police, right? The public sector funded peace officers, well, the previous employees I've known about since 2004, he's now a commander. Well, I think they call him assistant chief in his job role, but I know certain things about that individual. He failed me negligently through his civil servant job role, but he will never be held accountable, and nor will their professional standards department. They never get held accountable unless you know people and your face fits. That's how it works. Their connections behind the scenes, the business. But now with everything online, so-called, I was targeted deliberately, stolen things off me. They're trying to make out it's all made up. I don't make nothing up. I've got video evidence. I've got audio evidence of what that guy said, and I ain't gonna tell the bloody police. They don't do nothing. I got it on an old digital recorder of the bloke's voice, and yet the assumption how all this CCTV digital data is interlinked. And by the way, if you want to access your personal data, you're going to pay for it. But this is public funded, but the public has to fund for their own data. Double standard, if you ask me. I'll still be inquiring about that. That public servant in an email today, she failed to answer that question, so she's negligent in her duty of care. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate the basic meant to be offer people. When they call this disability card, right, it's a certain words they're using, a certain website was given an email. It linked back to another public body funded by the public. It's not independent. I was absolutely shocked when I saw a video linked to that. They're using vulnerable people. These companies are using vulnerable people and disguise it as, oh, we're empowerment, we're doing this, we're doing that. These people need to be waking up. Their families need to wake up. But, you know, if you are woken up in the bigger picture of the subjects, you know too well what's going on in your areas. If you're on for different countries, you might have a different system. So I'm just talking about United Kingdom. Right, so this card basically is interlinked to every public sector services. So you got the ambulance service, you got the police, you got the medical, you got the adult healthcare, you got whatever else they interlinked. And that data is stored on the cloud as well. Oh my God. That what started me investigating. Hold on, why would they suddenly get this guy, such and such individual, linked only to a website? Usually you'll get, we'll send a letter or send information in the post. No, to a website. Well, hold on, not every individual with got skills or abilities to download things, let alone do things online. There's an assumption being made there, and that individual's negligent in his public role. So it goes back to the Crime Commissioner. Crime Commissioner is a publicly elected individual, yeah, throughout United Kingdom since 2014 it came in. It got away with the police authorities, they called it, those years ago. I found out an individual female, she's moved her position, and I know where she's working now, and I've known her since 2004. Long time ago, and she failed me then, so nothing's really changed all these years on. It's just gone digital. way things work now. So, just going through to any particular documents I found. Right, if you didn't know that all healthcare professionals belong to this National UK Register. Again, they're just men and women working the job role, but they have to in the statutory UK system. Even healthcare professional, you need to, if you're going to be offered anything, look at the NHS Constitution. Look at your choices, your lawful rights, because whether you have an impairment, physical, mental health, whatever it may be, you look at your lawful rights and look at the statutory law in the Care Act 2014, Section 42, and adult safeguarding. Very important to do as soon as you can, no matter what age you are, whether you're a child, whether the system implies you're vulnerable. So whether you're dealing with so-called charities, mind, all these so-called charities have contracts. They're publicly now integrated, funded by the public sector now. And it's been coming in. Look what Citizens Advice have done nationally. Contract with Department of Works and Pensions. You see, they're all experiencing commerce, the commerce financial element in the so-called Citizens Advice. Look it up. My area, it's a company. They don't want to get back to me because I know they're a company. I can issue acceptance or offer under duress. Yeah, but they can't offer reasonable adjustments in statutory law, Equality Act 2010, Section 21, 22. They'll keep doing this. And if you offered any housing services, these corporations get away with it all. They're interlinked with CEOs. They know each other, not everyone in the United Kingdom, but their own areas. That's how commerce works. They have a certain business network set up. You can only do the research and then you go into the Freemasons, right? Got nothing against ordinary men and women. You want to be one, it's up to you. When you get the higher degree level, just be aware how it interlinks. How it interlinks to get ahead in the public sector role. You don't just become a CEO. You just don't just become a director or board of directors, right? The adult safeguarding links back into, they call it, safeguarding board, adult safeguarding board, for example. They've got one for children as well. But in this area, right, there's a company, Children's Services, is remodeled and set it up in this area. Adult Social Care, NASS Limited, folded July 2017, and they reset it up as a new company on the 1st of the 8th, 2018, last year. I found all this out when I held them accountable because I misused my data since the offer of May, well, last October, well, that was 2017 October, and then going up to last year, May, June, I was made it clear what my lawful rights were to record audio only to assist my disabilities. And I found out public civil servants who work for the public were trying to block me. They can't. Because as long as you're not doing anything against individuals, you're keeping within common law, and there hasn't been a full disclosure of a contract, never has to date, then there's nothing they can do. You'll be honourable in all your dealings in common law, natural common law, and you don't cause any harm, alarm, stress to any other man or woman. Just keep in within the statutory laws, basic information, common sense. That's the best you can do. Be honourable in your dealings. That's what I've tried to do. I never report any incident that happens unless I've got evidence of factual first-hand knowledge, which I have, but that again was dismissed again. It's just a pattern that goes on to re-traumatise individuals, and they get targeted and get labelled. That's how it's always done. This video is made without prejudice and made to advise, a personal advice only, a personal opinion. Do not take this as gospel. Just go and do your own due diligence of research. So HPC, social workers, any occupation therapist, any man or woman with a job title in any offer or joint healthcare services need to be signed up for that. They pay per year to be a member, and then they're meant to be protected. Data protection side of it all is so important to learn and know about. Again, as I was unable to access this sample, Department of Works and Pensions Limited, they deliberately set me up so I was bedbound on the 25th for sample last year, the 10th, 2018, at 9:15 a.m. I have limited mobility and right side more so now to date. So absolutely stunned, shocked when I was targeted towards me, and it was done indirectly, and I won't go into that right now. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes I won't go into because I've got all this evidence backed up anyway. So I sought clarification on medical records because I need to know what was sent to this Department of Pensions on this subject or PIP, Personal Independence Department, this private company Capita, the data mining company as well. They've got a contract with NHS England Limited, a contract with the Department of Works and Pensions Limited. They're all having your private medical data. So when you're being offered assessments for your, say, disability needs, medical needs, you need to get that factual evidence, making sure things are said correctly, because the certain individuals are overriding the medical, men and women in the job role of your disabilities. This is just going to be all completely messed up. So, allegedly, that when it goes all onto the cloud, all this data mining, all these companies, they can easily interpretate. Oh, especially when it comes through, say, you have an emergency, God forbid. I don't knock ordinary men and women in the frontline services, right? But what I am more concerned about is how that data could be misinterpreted, could be misused, could be incorporated into their computer technology and more advanced technology they're using now and forthcoming. And that's where I come from. That's why I'm doing the stream today. So I had a gut feeling because something didn't seem right. And when my friend looked at this offer in the email today and looked in further, we found, oh my goodness me, what? All of these other companies are interlinked to showing your data. Excuse me, my friend said, I'm not going to have my blinking information, certain things you were saying. And I don't bloody blame her. Let me just go into this. Oh, yes, found it. So, just going to get this out. So, I'm going to share this if this helps anybody out there. Right. Let me just go and give you one example about Dun & Bradstreet. And, I'm trying to do something. Right. I don't know if I can. So that is what I mean by Dun & Bradstreet in the United Kingdom. It's a website, and you can check out which my friend would do about another issue at the moment. So I was shocked to find a number DUNS number for my medical practice. The medical practice, I sent a copy of this in going back August 2017. Next minute, I get on the targeting unlawfully, character assassination constantly by certain employees in that medical practice because I had them accountable. And I haven't gone down the General Medical Council because they pay membership to protect their image. They're negligent, they're tort law. If you learn about tort law. So that's very useful. So I didn't get anywhere with the recent requirement to my medical data. I have not bothered to use that because I just know it's more to do with the online data nowadays. So I'm just going to give the website out if you want to learn more, and it might link up to the national opt-out covers leaving NHS data, NHS digital, for example, and it does not affect your direct care, by the way. And the presumption that it does, you really do need to learn this if you would like to know. Okay. That is the website below. If you want to go onto the website and download the information and find out for yourself, be my guest. Your data shared by CCG, that's in clinical conditioning groups, right, United Kingdom. This is from last year. And I found out more what's going on to the cloud. 10-year plan or 20-year plan they did in the press recently, my first stream of the day. And no, it's more than that. Look at the year. By 2020, all hospitals and other care providers, well, the document and information I found today, it gave misleading information. It claimed by 2030 and 2024, no, it's already come into play. We're 2019 now. So this information is factual, 10 years ahead. Okay, then 2030. God knows how if I'm going to survive that long in the way things are going and the way things are. Now on the website, you will find, please read, you may need to act, important information about your medical records, med confidential, keep your secrets. Also, this is not just this is what I sent on the 15th, 11th, 2018, resent, but that got sent by record to place and they ignored it. So I'm not going to be bothered about that right now. The main thing is about commercial sale of your data. And don't forget, if you have any personal information you don't want shared, well, when it goes onto cloud, how do you know how secure the software companies are going to hold your personal data? It's not just about medical data, but don't forget, if you want to check it out, your website, information, be my guest, and how to opt out. It gives you guidance. And cut my stream off again. So, right, let me just go on to show the software. Okay. Just remember that code, National Opt-out Programme. Disclosure personal confidential information by NHS Digital Limited. The code, I sent that off, or you got that box there. Or just as from secondary use of GP patient identifiable data, and that's a code to use. And again, it's on the same website I just showed you. And it's your wishes. You're writing to confirm what your requirements are. And regarding the use of your medical, this is on the medical subject, on the records for those whom are responsible for purpose other than your direct medical care. So this is an opt-out thing, that one sent. It gives you sort of more of a background. So you do have the right to opt out. There are various options, including the national opt-out introduced May 2018. You can read all this for yourself online. This is in statutory law wording. And then we're going on to this section what I mentioned earlier about the Health and Social Care Information Centre, known as NHS Digital Limited. You can just skim through and read things for yourself, what might be apparent. Do you want all of your information to be shared? About all these referrals are online. And I said, hold on, what information has been written about me online? What is the e-referral? And this is when I found it went to a digital online referral. Never heard of that before last year for dental referral locally to my area hospital, it went all the way up to Leeds. I didn't consent to that. So ever since then, I found out more that we all have a choice whether we get offered goods and services and whatever subject may be. And I rang up somebody the other day in the local hospital. She put the phone down, went dead deliberately. When I was trying to seek clarification on the National NHS Constitution and choice to be referred to, there's another online referral, found out 6 months wait. Well, you have a right to go private. Oh, I wonder why that was in place. Found out more about that again today. So here we go, reference to your summary care record. I found out the information wasn't correct. I sent the information back to this medical company and the data controller to correct their records. I still haven't had a response. But as I said, opting out does not affect the offer of services or direct care. Just be careful how the data sharing is interlinked. Have you ever seen any blood test results? They're trying to imply that you have more accessible access to that in all the media, mainstream media by NHS England, limited, and all interlinked, so-called Theresa May, Conservatives, all the usual PR, and that you'll be able to access all this stuff online. Be very careful what and how you'll need to do and share just to access that online, and just be aware and careful if you want to. You might think, oh, I've got nothing to hide, nothing to worry about. Well, you still, be conscious, and you'll be observing things. If all this scaremongering going on with all this so-called UK Brexit thing kicking off about prescriptions and lack of and so forth medications, just be sensible and be aware. So I acted on it straight away at the time, and so automated letters now with no signature on the back by the medical practice, and all their GMC numbers. You want to check out who they are. Let me just cover something up there with me. GMC numbers of any man or woman working in claim to be medical practice. You will find out their license. In statutory services in the United Kingdom, obviously they need to practice, but they are pay for that membership to protect their interests, so they have access to lawyers and when things go wrong. Does the ordinary members of the public? Well, I leave that for anyone else to figure out. So claiming changes dispensary or medications arrangements, all online. So of course, if you shouldn't have to keep pushing for your lawful rights. And of course, you need to be up to date. So, also, when it used to be in-house services, medical side, again, subject, for example, district nursing, they're not now. Offer services for your whatever subject may be. To have an individual, it's all call centres now. They've now merged services, public services, all merged. So again, it's status sharing. So simple, getting a blood test for home visit for those who can't get out and about, housebound, whatever reason. There's a lawful duty of care in statutory law as in common law, but again, cold calling, no phone call before, and this was going back even last year, 27/6/2018, and ever since then, I've still got the evidence of what was put through the door and cold calling without my consent. So any offer services I conditional set under duress is always after such time, and there's a reason for that. And I send just enough information to aid the individuals. But again, that gets dismissed. So recently again, for example, one sent proof of posting that I sought clarification on references online referrals. And did I get response? No. Again, I sought clarification of the evidence, what was put on online referrals. For example, one was made 16th of the 7th, 2018. And there's a couple of ones I know about and what they're about. And again, I didn't get any response. I'm not going to keep typing up. So there's all this proof of posting you send, and again, they're just using computer systems. So I did a subject access requirement. Now there's a contracts, terms, and reference. I mean, I've got a situation going back to the first part of 2017, 17th to 3rd, 2017. I know who was behind that and what was going on. Now, bringing it forthcoming to date, the individual still working where he is, and he is subject to the GSM contract, again, NHS Limited, NHS England Limited, for example. Now, the data controller for your own area medical practice to access your medical records, again, this was sent, oh gosh, the first time, 27th of 6th, 2018, no response, but delivered. And it was signed by the same individual. They train up all this new input of funding, the admin individuals in these medical practices. They ignore. I've got the proof of posting in my hand, and they breach data protection regulations, statutory law, and there isn't any fee required. That got resent, proof of posting of that got resent. For example, again, the opt-out, what I just showed you, was dated the 14th of the 8th, 2018 to the data controller of that medical practice. Again, ignored. Be careful, you need to keep pursuing them. Lawfully, non-honorably though. Don't, maliciously, just keep an honour. So, for example, all these copies, proof of posting what I sent previously, got resent on my behalf. And we're now looking at last year, end of last year, 13th to 12th December 2018. Got delivered and got signed. And it was delivered the 17th of the 12th, 2018, no response. So, you tell me what's going on. I tell you, there is unlawful. I mean, it doesn't take 6 to 7 months to fail to respond. So, because they're NHS England Limited funded, when you go through them, and their certain area officers to get a lawful remedy for negligence, medical negligence, or data breaches, or whatever it may be, well, don't forget they're a digital company, and you'll still want your data, certain more information before they'll do anything. I found that out last year, and 17th of 8th, 2018, for example, and there's no way I was going to fill in their document because it wasn't even on the letterhead of their company. So my mate did a version for me. Unfortunately, things happened last year, personal matters, and I couldn't do that. And obviously, to date, I just found this information out with a friend's help today, and I'm just making this video if one's interested to be aware. So I'll just be aware of the AI system and how, unfortunately, I'm just going to put some things. You see, when you check out a website, for example, you can go into whois.com and you can check out who owns a domain of a certain claim to be a statutory funded so-called local national government or the private limited company. You'll soon find out who owns the domain. or the website, and then you can link it to your research, perhaps a company information, company house. And then, or you can look at the business. Well, people use a linking app for like people trying to get ahead in business, or public funded or private companies. So you might find some information that way. It's just if you would like to know who you're dealing with. Because if you don't have up-to-date information, it used to be in-house general health checks. How they're going to do general health checks now? Physical health checks for those that may require that used to be in-house. Well, no longer is it possible. They're doing it all online by the new digital NHS software. And when I saw clarification to have an email to use, they've got a website, but why can't people use an email? Oh, you need to sign up to go online to their servers, and hold on, it's misleading the website information because it didn't say that your personal data is linked up to NHS Digital as well, NHS Limited, NHS Digital Limited, NHS England Limited, 2 private companies. So if you don't know about setting up a separate email and all that stuff now for things you need to do, it's worth investigating. All linked up services, there's no longer nurse-led clinics. It's all linked up to call centres now, as I said. All these are public services. I don't know where you are, but in my area it's all linked up, everything is. And you don't know who you're dealing with. So they might say on the call centre, and you're on the phone forever, by the way. And you're pure luck if you get right through to a certain department. It's press this number, press that number to get through to somebody. And then when you try and seek an email for that call centre, well, there isn't one. It's a bit like Capita PLC dealing with DWP, exactly like that. So then outsourcing goods and services. Say if you've got the subject for, it's a national company, you've got medical equipment, your medical loan equipment to assess, you need all this, that and the other. Don't forget now they're using computerised technology, more advanced. And then you're dealing with the housing sector. They're using all their online. Every damn thing now is all digital. And that's the life we're living in. Therefore, when you seek, I had a medical delivery not that long ago, and a different, just for Christmas I think it was, and there was no, the printout was not even signed. It was automated response on an email. Again, be aware of that, because you're trying to source an individual that works for that corporation, and you're trying to see who's accountable for that department, and you're trying to seek clarification with email, phone number. It is hard work to find this out, but persevere, because you will get there eventually. They just don't want people to know what is available. So that's about it. I need to go, it's getting late for me, and well, just put it this way, your data, if you're not bothered, then fine, but I am, and I always will be, very conscious and careful to access my personal information. But nowadays everything is monitored the way things are going. Yeah, God bless, keep safe, and a lot of paperwork, by the way, researching this. So we'll just leave this with you. Be aware, the cloud data, and it's not just medical, and it's not just what I just mentioned, adult health, social care, everything's interlinked. So you think you're using this, what was that quotation? Bear with me, I found it. It was the access to, there's an email about 4:30, and the assumption by a female, and then this guy called a male, just to put it as a male, and it was reference to offer this I can't remember the title of this so-called card, but then my mate downloaded the documentation and information related to that. And we found out there was the mind, there was a local limited company, care company, there was the police, there was the NHS, and this is a foundation, they call it a trust. Then there was what else? Oh yeah, there was this learning disability something board, partnership, I think they call it, partnership board. It's just another bureaucracy, or public funded, and who sits on that, you'll be interested to, might want to know. And then there was something else, so I've got there was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh yeah, and then there was NCC Limited, 6. I think there was and the CCG, 6, 7. I think there was about 7 or 8 logos on that document leaflet my mate downloaded and other information, and it was all to do with, again, putting certain private information on that document and then going to upload it to their computer system. Oh yeah, and that interlinked with, as I mentioned earlier, I don't know how it works for children, by the way, but adult safeguarding, they call it this, adult safeguarding board. That is all linked into every town and city, by the way, it's the same. So they link that into, on that board, you've got all these political people, and in my area it's all Conservative, so good luck on that one. I'm not political, but I'm just getting the facts about your data. So all this uploaded to the cloud of the medical data will interlink to this other data. So Mind is a limited company, national, but they claim to be a charity. This other health adult care company is owned by this other public funded limited company, but they claim to be government, but I found out the evidence about their companies. The police, right, so this offer a service was funded by, they call it in statute law, crime commissioner, and I found out who's interlinked with him, the male, and the funding comes from that department, and it all looks all nice and grateful and helpful, you know, we're not bashing it, but it all looks very helpful. But the amount of data the individual or their family or loved one is required on there, and that's interlinked with, they call this vulnerable adult. That's, as I said, section 42 statute law, care act 2014. Read it if it relates, to be aware how that's linked to all of this in a nutshell. If you want to stop, play back this video, take notes, do your research yourself, it's up to you. If you're a public servant looking into this, hearing this, are you aware? Have you got up-to-date training how to support, advise the public how their data is really going to be used? How, or are you inputting correct data about the individual situation or circumstances, or is it brief on your drop-down keyboard on your computer and just your tick boxes that you have to use now with the technology the way it is? Are you really thinking with, you know, with your training and skills to help, for example, vulnerable adults or people with disabilities or their loved ones, the family and the public? Because from what I've seen today, it does not come across that way at all. The factual reading of the documents is not. So that Keep Safe card, that's what it's called, my friends just told me, Keep Safe, it means well, the principle means well, but that data collection and how that data sharing protocol was never informed on this area. And when that email came today about like www.keepsafe and one's area, I won't say that right now, .org, and one went onto it and it linked back to a public body. So my mate's going to check out who owns that website, and I guarantee you I know who it is. Well, obviously the corporation who claims to hold the ownership of the domain name website. And that KeepSafe card means well, but there's no intention to really help the individual, not with all this new AI and data, because they've got your CCTVs around your towns and cities. Look up and see how that information in CCTV images, you might think, oh, it keeps us safe. Yeah, but they select what they're going to do and how they do it. As I said, your images on that CCTV, and by the way, they're using 5G. The technology is meant to be, the documents my mate has found on that recently in one's area. If you want to access your personal data or images only, you're having to pay for that, as I said earlier. But yet you reported a crime, and these individuals don't have first-hand knowledge. They pick and choose what they're going to do. And this KeepSafe card, by the way, well, what my mate and I saw in that video, there's certain things that would take advantage of certain individuals. That was so clear from what we saw. And then when we investigated the links, well, hold on, this information on this KeepSafe card, the document, all of these corporations, all these public funded bodies, right? Then it linked on to something else, and then we found this out nationally, what's going on with all these national so-called governments, right, UK, but private software companies come in with AI, clearly said AI. And, well, how more advanced is the technology? So my mate has done this. Right, Ministry of Justice Limited Company, okay, crime and commissioner, investigate things if you like to. By the way, the company house for Voice and Witnesses Limited information, their registration number is 10840 161. It's a limited company funded by the public purse, and who are managing directors on that company is the public funded, political funded, so people elected these police and crime commissioners, individuals, and they're on a board of this private limited company. And yet when you go on to Ministry of Justice Limited, nationally, head office in Petit France, London, head office in London, you will find out it's all interlinked to Chamber of Commerce and Business. Now, Chamber of Commerce Limited in one's area, the company house number is, it's a limited company, 04043 And when you find out the director of this Voice and Witnesses Limited, the director is I won't say the guy's name, you know, Stephen, I won't say his last name, but he's a crime commissioner. And how much is he being paid on top of his position in public office, civil servant, on top of having a role as a director of this private limited company set up using the public purse property? And that's meant to be set up to help witness and victims of crime in statutory law. I could not believe the document they wanted me to sign up to. And that's similar, and good job I didn't consent. I would offer enough information to aid me, but not all the information they claimed required. And as a consequence, it's a good job I didn't. because I found out who else was the director of that company, the CEO director, Jennifer. And she lives in Shropshire, civil servants. And there's another secretary, a guy called Paul. So it's all business. And then when you've got personal information that you want to keep private, well, just be aware how offer goods and services and research, if you're able to. Because sometimes situations you don't have that opportunity. Well, this Voiceability Limited, voiceability.org, it's a national company. In this area, for example, that individual for the NHS side of things, where she completely is negligent since May 2018. And the former employee in that area office, where she's now left, she breached my data, and severely more so, going back the 6th of the night 2018. So I fully rebutted that with a friend's help. So yeah, all of this, all the original data, when you're dealing with various individuals, how it's all interlinked now using the national data, digital information commissioner, NHS digital, oh my goodness me. And then all of this is interlinked. So you might have pieces of documents or leaflets through the post, and it just gives a logo, you know, and it just gives basic information. But unless you investigate who's behind it all and what is offered, and full disclosure, then how are you going to seek, well, what difference does it make, you could say? A lot when there's a lot of changes going on. And what is a remedy when things go wrong? It's up to you what you want to do. It's about pathways. It's about trying to prevent things, trying to prevent your data sharing. Because if you didn't believe a piece of paper in front of me, I've got, in a certain subject, it's got NHS Foundation Trust. At the bottom, it's also got Mind. Well, they got that logo on the same document as NHS Foundation Trust, for example. That's not explaining anything. So my mate did a research on that. Mind nationally UK is limited company, area offices in each town, cities, UK. They mean well, they do their best individually, people working there. But they now got NHS employees working in the Mind places. And then it's all interlinked with other public sector services, so it's all your data shared. Right, I've got to go. This is unbelievable. Let me just go into one last thing about might be beneficial. So if you're amateur or you're just not aware how you're broadcasting your data, what you think it's professional, individuals and their jobs, their protector information, well, maybe not. But it's your confidential information. It's business. You're not a victim, you're a survivor. For things that do go wrong, do you want all this spying? I mean, do you sense the cloud, the AI, the digital age? I mean, is there a hidden agenda? Question mark, by the way, this is. Do you think there's a hidden agenda behind all this? What's your instinct tells you? What's your gut instinct tell you? The technical digital age is all been linking and luring for surveillance behind the scenes for years, but much more than you can ever imagine. But if you say nothing to hide or whatever, the usual people's mentality maybe, fine, you got no problem then, have you? You look at your high street next time, look at the public phone boxes and see what's going on. If you have your mind, your eyes, so to speak, open, you're aware of the bigger picture, not just the United Kingdom. Other subjects out there, you know what's going on. Be aware of your surrounding security. You're not being OTT, you're just being common sense about just limiting who can access what and for what reason. And that's what I mean in contract law, full disclosure. If you don't seem to come across an option and they are using, well, they already are, I know that. certain individuals in the job role, they are civil servants. They have a duty of care to the individual, that are paying the public purse their wages and their pensions. And that's what I'm not into, all these, what they call it, yellow jacket people protesting and stuff. I'm not into all that myself. But I see what and why they're trying to do things. Each to their own. It's just awareness and observant, conscious and careful. If you have the spiritual belief, it's very important to be aware and careful and calmly. Very difficult when you're under pressure, perhaps, to be aware that you're not going to be a target of misuse of your data. And you just don't know, because it does happen. I've had medication that's been gone missing in a hospital. They've done that. That I knew how that happened. I won't go into all that, how it happened. But that was my data they misused. And don't forget, if you're trying to access other data and all these other organisations, so-called public funded, you still have to pay. You won't believe it, how much their property now, ordinary man and woman who don't have anything perhaps to start with, in the sense of tangible means. So just be aware of your integrity, and you are, well, just be aware of the monitoring, just be aware of the data, just be aware of your personal situation, and be observant and be honourable and lawful. But obviously detect when things are going wrong and see what the function is in the requirements are in you dealing with individuals in their capacity as public servants, United Kingdom, throughout whatever subject you're dealing with, and be aware and how to detect when things go wrong and source that information if you have the ability to seek clarification, basically, on what information is being required for and how. You might not always get the answers or get a response, but there is a lawful duty of care to do so, and they don't always keep up to that. You might find in statute law the freedom of information about a route, the data protection, they can easily opt out. They can easily blank out, video images, of your own images. They can even blank out. And I've heard about this in other formats or other individuals that they have their personal information messed about with. There's so much going on. I know it could be nothing new, but it's just being aware of your electronic fingerprint, as they call it, your digital fingerprint. It's not just, it's not just about what I've said earlier. There's a lot of other stuff going on behind the scenes. God bless, keep safe, just being aware and be observant. And being practical, but don't get OTT about it, because that will get you, it might just distress you. But head office, the Clacton House, Department of Works and Pensions Limited, UK, you'll start finding all this out. But I've got to go. My alarm's going. And it's your life. I'm here just observing life and trying to push through. And I will stick to my own basic things that I need to do on being lawfully. It's going to get tougher. It's going to get much more difficult to try and do certain things in a way that there's a deliberate things going on behind the scenes, but I won't go into all that right now. I've got to go. God bless, keep safe, be aware, keep safe. I keep saying that, keep safe, but it's common sense. This keep safe card is just logically sounds great, but just be aware how your personal data will be shared. I think it's getting late. Yeah, my mates just seem to be to the time, so I've got to go. And smartphones is not always something I found by chance, actually. Human rights. That's one thing I did miss out. Article 8, your right to private life and family life. That's very important to the statutory law, your natural fundamental God-given rights anyway, but also be aware of any breaches to your human rights. European Court of Human Rights, by the way. Will it still exist with the way things are going? Who knows? But also be aware of the Article 3. So Article 8 goes into right to respect to private life and family life. And I would have thought that relates to your personal data too anyway, and how decisions are being made. It goes into, they call it in statutory law, local authorities and other public authorities have a clear, regular, I can't even pronounce words right now, role in the areas in relation to environmental health as well, potential for breach of. There's all these clauses and obligations, but be aware of what lawful obligation any man or woman in their public role, civil servant role, has to your personal data. On basis of what? And be careful what you're signing for online, or, you know, if you have a meeting, offer a meeting with somebody, be aware what you're verbally saying, what you're signing, what you're doing online. Because in respect of a remedy, they have, put it this way, there is a lack of access to accountability in a lot of areas. But I'm not here to go on about that. It's just there are lawful reasonable steps for individuals to take in their job capacity, but they will not break rank, especially when they've got a public pension and ties to others. They will close rank. And if you hear anything about whistleblowing, any industry, what happens to those men and women in the health and safety and their job roles and their personal life when they try and whistleblow about things they find out when it's not going right nationally, perhaps. Just a question mark on that one and all. I just encourage anyone out there to think for themselves and trust your gut instinct and believe in oneself, because we need to look at natural health and remedies in all sorts of situations. It's not easy when you don't have, when you really do need to think consciously and cautiously about elements of risk, data sharing, element of your health and safety and your environment where you live. You're not being OTT on your personal situation, you're just being aware, unconscious. The principles of your fundamental God-given rights are still there. You're born with them. Nobody can take them away. Don't forget you're governed by consent, and they can try and imply what they like, but they need to do the full disclosure when it works in contract law. I won't be reporting anything else. There's no point, because I'm not giving up. I just know certain things, who's behind certain things, and what's happening in the bigger picture. So be aware of that contract law, how this is unbelievably so large. If one is very conscious and approach matters, you know, within your own logical way of approaching things, and you're not putting yourself at risk or anybody else or harming anybody else in common law, then I do believe that despite all this technology, the practical everyday situations offline is very important to be aware and be prepared of what that might mean for individuals. Yeah, you know, it's up to you, but you might just think, I'm fed up, I just want to watch TV, and I don't care about my data sharing, I don't care about people profiting off my private life data. You will, if wrong things are said about you on a data basis and you lose your job and you try to get another job and some data comes up on a computer and then you can't get a job because of that, and your whole life's affected, or could affect your whatever scenario. Just observations. There are good people out there that are trying to bring in changes for the positive. I've seen that. And I'm not knocking, as I said, frontline employees trying to do their best, because a lot of these ordinary everyday people working in public sector services don't know what's going on in the bigger picture. I don't know everything. I'm just observant. I'm observer. I'm gonna go. God bless you. Take care. There's a lot of information. Profit sharing. And now I'm going to switch off. Try to recover from my injuries the other day. Oh gosh, I wish I didn't know half the things I found out and what I've known for years, but it's important to stay safe. Don't get lost. Don't get lost in the maze of confusion that's going on. Just keep it basic and simple. I didn't know how else to keep this stream basic and simple to the point. But it just dawned on me. There was a link to why certain individuals did not, the way things happened to me, certain things are happening. And I've finally put it all together, the puzzles, pieces of puzzles, you could say. And we're living in a